Welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. And now, let's get sketchy.
Yep, that's not the AI intro. It's the old intro. Because of the fun sponges we have out there, sucking up all the fun. No, in all seriousness, we're going to be serious tonight. Everything is going to be very serious. I'm just kidding. Welcome to Gettin Sketchy Live, the greatest live broadcast in all of YouTube.
I was getting a little nervous.
Yeah, because Ashley didn't know that I was going to pull that stunt.
That was more serious than I'm used to. I wasn't sure what to do. Put a tie on, maybe.
I got pretty serious there. And, I just realized that we're wearing very similar shirts.
Yeah, that's right. We're on the same team.
We're like a team.
Yeah.
We're a team.
Yeah, our team.
No, I took the AI intro off because there were people complaining. People don't like AI. It makes them feel weird. But if and the AI intro, again, just to be clear, is a joke. This is supposed to be fun and relaxed, and we're having fun. But some people just don't like the AI. They just think it makes them feel weird to see people with 5 fingers and stuff. I don't know. But, Ashley and I were talking about this. I think it's true. If the whole intro would have been just animated in a very realistic way, then everybody would have loved it. But, whatever. So next season, maybe we'll do a different intro. But I like the AI intro. Yeah. So
I thought it was fun.
I
was really trying to live up to my AI personality.
Yeah.
I started growing the beard back.
Right.
So now I got to shave.
Yeah. I was growing my hair out longer.
Yeah.
Trying to get rid of these blue eyes. Trying to exchange them for brown eyes.
Trying to grow a finger, but I'm going to stop that.
Anyway, tonight I guess this is episode 7.
This is my 4th drawing. Yeah, that's right. Episode 7.
Did you start or did I start?
I started.
Okay.
So I've done 3, you've done 3. This will be 7.
Well, if you started, then this would be 8, right?
No.
Oh, this is your 4th one.
My 4th
Okay,
one.
never mind. I'm not going to try to figure out that complicated math right now. Anyway, welcome everyone. If you're watching this live or if you're watching the recorded version, of course, we're glad to have you along for the next hour, about an hour. It's going to be a wild ride tonight because Ashley's going to be using charcoal. He's going to be doing the drawing for us tonight. And if you're watching the live version of this, of course, there's a chat box here on YouTube. You can post comments and questions and all that stuff. If you do have a comment or question that's directed specifically at Ashley or I, if you'll put that in, if you'll use the super chat function, we request that you use the super chat function because it shows your comment up here on the screen predominantly displayed. It does cost a little bit of money to do that, but it does help the channel out. So it's a good way to show your support as well. So if you have a comment or question, super chat function, we'll do our best to answer those questions and comments for you. Also, if you're new to the channel, haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe and click on the notification bell so you're notified when new videos like this are posted or when we go live and all that stuff. And Ashley's going to be working from a photo reference tonight. The way to find the photo reference is to click on the little icon of my face in the lower left-hand corner underneath the video. That will take you to the YouTube channel. And then from there, look for the post tab. Clicking on that will take you to the posts. And the most recent post for this video will have a link back to this video and also the photo reference that Ashley's going to be working from as well. And you're here, you're watching this show because you love live entertainment, of course. Now, the reason why you're here is because you're an artist and you want to get better at being an artist, or you want to be around other artists. And if you really like that, then you got to check out the membership program over at thevirtualinstructor.com. I hate the term membership. There's really no better way to call it. It's what it is. You're a member if you join. Anyway, there's a ton of drawing and painting courses. There is so much content over there that you would not be able to get through it probably in 3 or 4 years watching videos constantly, because I've been putting videos up since 2010 for the membership program, and there's been about at least 2 or 3 weekly. So that's a lot of content, guys. And we cover pretty much every drawing and painting medium out there and every subject matter that you can imagine. We do weekly live lessons for members, and those are all recorded and stored in our vault. We do weekly critiques as part of the Members Minute. There's also a year-long curriculum for visual arts teachers. If you are a teacher, all the resources you need to teach for an entire year are included, and you don't even have to think about what's coming next. Everything is nicely ordered. Everything. I know it's the summertime here in the United States. Probably teachers aren't thinking about those things, but it's there for you. If you want to learn more about the membership program or start your free trial, there's a 7-day free trial and a 30-day money-back guarantee. There's a link in the description below. You can check that out. Also, if you want to just check out 3 of our course videos and ebooks for free and also get on our mailing list where I'll send you a ton of other free art lessons, there's a link in the description below for that as well. There's also a few links in the description for some courses that we offer as part of the membership program that are relevant to what we are doing tonight. So all that's in the description below. I don't think I asked you. How are you doing, Ashley?
I'm doing well, Matt. Thanks for asking. It's been a great week for me, and I hope it has for you.
Yeah, it's been all right.
I'm too tall.
Been hot. Yeah. Been a hot week. Yep. I guess
a hot rainy week.
Hot rainy week. Very, very steamy around here. Yeah, like with temperature and stuff. All right, Ashley, are you
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
Ready to
Let's
go?
talk about our reference, our song choice, and our materials.
Okay, we'll go ahead and switch over then.
All right. So, been a couple comments so far on the reference. Folks that have commented seem to like it. There's a lot going on in the reference tonight, and we'll capture what we can. You know, we've got a lot of small or tight details, and we're working with a pretty loose medium. So we'll see how they match up together. This is a 1-point perspective image. There's a vanishing point, and it is inside of our picture plane. So if you see the person that looks kind of like a silhouette, they're wearing all black and facing away from us. The vanishing point is just barely to the right of their head, kind of like on the edge of that poster that frames around their head. So we're going to go ahead and start with that. I've actually got a mark that I've already found on my paper, and I want to talk about that a little bit, and then we'll go over our materials just so you can find it. You don't have to use measurements on a ruler to figure out what the vanishing point is, but I'm going to give them to you if you would like to. But the beauty about linear perspective is that this dot, this little mark, is like a little plus sign on my paper. That is the vanishing point where a lot of edges or lines seem to radiate towards or away from. It also represents our eye level. And if you put that mark a little high or a little low, it will change the eye level. But as long as your marks relate back to it, the perspective can still be correct. So you can make a drawing that looks a little different than mine or a little different than the reference, and mine make it look a little different than the reference, and it still be spatially correct as long as we use our dot or our vanishing point. So if you're not familiar with the vanishing point, that's just a place where lines that are parallel seem to converge, the ones that move away from us. So we're going to start with those. Let's go ahead and talk about our materials a little bit. I do have a charcoal pencil. This is an old school pencil. Mm-hmm. It's the kind where you pull the paper off, and I've went ahead and sharpened it a little bit just using a piece of sandpaper. It's one of these sandpaper blocks.
Oh, you found that one in there, yeah.
And these come with a lot of drawing kits. So that's what. So it's just a charcoal pencil. If your charcoal pencil is encased in wood and sharpens with a crank sharpener, it's the same charcoal. It's just a different pencil. And then I also have vine charcoal, and that's pretty much what we're going to use for a lot of our drawing. This is a sketching medium, and this is a sketching show, so we won't really get into compressed charcoal, except for the pencil a little bit. We'll be mostly working with vine charcoal. I have a kneaded eraser, a stick eraser, and an electric eraser, and I have a pink eraser also, but it's out of reach right now. We'll see if we need it. So a whole host of erasers, and then a stump that I cleaned off with the sandpaper, so it's a little irregular, and a tortilla. And it's already dirty with charcoal, and that's the way I want it because we're going to make marks with it. So if you have one of these, or you're going to smudge or smear with a rolled up piece of paper towel or paper, you can, as soon as it gets dirty, you can start using it to make lighter marks. And I do have a pencil. If this were a larger drawing, I wouldn't use a pencil at all, but because it's a perspective drawing, I want to put a few lines in with a pencil to start. And then quickly switch over. I've went ahead and picked out which edges that I want to start with. Perspective can be a little slow getting started because you need to look at your reference and tilt your pencil to match the angles you see in the reference, and then you move your pencil from the reference, and lay it on your paper and make a mark, and then tilt your pencil to another edge. Move it over from the reference to the paper, and then draw in that mark. So that can take a little bit of time. So I went ahead and did that before the show. So I've got some little marks around my paper that I'm going to start with, and you can just copy those if you're following along, or I'll tell you where they're at, because after I found them, I measured where they were from the corners of my paper and wrote those measurements down, and they're written under the tape. So like I said, you can draw along with me and just sort of eyeball or freehand where you believe the lines are that I'm going to start with. Or if you want to cut a piece of paper in the next couple of minutes so that it matches the size of mine, I can tell you what points that I'm drawing towards. So my paper is 5 inches across by 6 2/3 of an inch of inches, 6 2/3 inches tall. So 2/3, it's a little bit of a strange measurement for inches. So it's really 6.667. And I don't know if you got that on your ruler, but
I'm glad it's not 666.
Yeah, I know it's 6.667. So that was a close one.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go ahead and I think we're about ready to get started, Matt. I've got a ruler.
This one's interesting because the roof is curved. So
Yeah.
you've still got those lines of perspective going back, but they're not in the traditional spot that you would imagine them.
It's not like the corner of a building or something,
Right.
So it's a little unusual. Oh, incidentally, I selected this piece for a couple of reasons. First, my song is Subway of Your Mind by FEX. And if you've heard of that, I'll be surprised, and tell me in the chat. My son told me about this song about a month ago. Told me it was the most popular song on YouTube without a title for years until somebody identified it. And then the image itself is cropped down from a copyright-free image that was in color found on Pixabay, and I cropped it for balance and rhythm. So it is perspective. The picture obviously creates depth and space because of the perspective, but it's asymmetrically balanced. We've got 2 little people on the right and a big train with a pattern on it. I'm sorry. On the left, we've got our people and a big train with a pattern on the right. So the train's much bigger. It's actually heavier in real life, but I feel like the balance is pretty good because of the figure in black that is close to the edge of the picture plane. He or she carries a lot of visual weight, and I feel like she does enough with the other person to balance out our train. So I want to just talk a little bit about balance. All the repetition, the repetition that we see in the lines of perspective and the lights, even these columns over here, all that repetition creates kind of a beat, kind of a rhythm to our artwork. It's pretty fast.
Visual rhythm.
Visual rhythm, that's right. All right, man, I think we're ready.
Okay. I will set the timer, 45 minutes, and you're off.
And go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start drawing my first marks from my vanishing point. And my vanishing point is 5/8 of an inch from the edge and just a little bit below the middle. So I am drawing to 1 1/16 of an inch. This line is where our molding is in the ceiling, those really dark areas.
Buddy,
dark shapes.
Buddy is from Germany, and she asked, how do you measure in the States? Inch, foot, miles, do they all fit in each other at all? They do.
They do.
Yeah. There are 12 inches in a foot, and I think there's 5,682 feet in a mile. I'm
Easy numbers to remember.
I'm going to have to look that up, but I think it's 5,682. I will look that up just to be sure, because, we don't really think of miles in terms of feet, really. But
yeah, and then we divide our inches by multiples of 4. So like fourths, eighths, sixteenths, 32nds, and 64ths.
Yes.
So that's a little unusual.
Yeah.
All right, once we get these last couple lines on here, you'll probably be able to look at them and identify the parts of our picture that they represent. There we go.
I was close. It's 5,280 feet in a mile.
All right, it's pretty close.
I'm only off by like 400 feet.
I'm going to go ahead with my Vine charcoal and tone my paper now. So I'm just putting a little bit of Vine charcoal down over these initial lines that we made. And then we'll use a paper towel to smear it around. This is just so that there's really nothing white. And we'll go back with our eraser for those lights. And however much we can erase out those lights, that'll be white. That's what we'll call white.
Yes, we all, in the United States, we all know that the metric system is superior.
Yeah.
There's no reason to tell us that.
And we also use it. I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
We use it, but we also use the standard system. It's part of our culture.
But then if you use the metric system, when you're measuring things out, at least here in the United States, I can use, my foot is a little bit bigger than an actual foot, an actual measurement of a foot. A little bit bigger than 12 inches. I wear a size 13 shoe. So it's easy for me to measure with my feet. And I think that's where those measurement came from.
Right.
So if I'm, for example, if I'm trying to figure out how much carpet I need or whatever, I can just use my feet and find out how much. That's pretty handy.
Yeah, and when we're playing golf, my stride is pretty much a yard.
Yeah,
So
that's metric.
A yard is not metric. Those are.
Oh, that's right. It's a meter.
You're thinking of meters.
Yard is such a weird term, but yes, a yard is about a stride. But a yard is very similar to a meter, is it not?
Yeah, meters are just a little longer. All right, I'm just going to put some marks in here. And this drawing will be a lot about just fresh mark making, light, dark, medium marks. We'll see how these land. We're not going to count these little spaces. We're just going to put however many of them land in here, and that's what we'll have. And got some columns over here. Just find a few nice dark elements that we can use as sort of anchors to hang on to. All right.
Already seeing some space there with just a few marks.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much or how easy it is to create the illusion of space using perspective, whether it's 1-point perspective like Ashley's using here, 2-point or 3-point perspective. And if you don't have a lot of experience with perspective and you want to learn about it, there are a lot of lessons that we have on the site dealing with perspective. Some of those are free, some of those are part of courses, but you can pick up a lot from just the free lessons on the site on perspective. We go into each one of the forms of linear perspective so you can master it. It's perspective is one of those things that anyone can really get good at by just understanding the rules that are associated with each form of perspective. And you can get good at it very quickly.
Just a few rules to follow.
Just a few rules, and they're slightly different depending on what type of perspective you're dealing with. But they all have vanishing points.
So these dark shadows that run across our picture, if you squint your eyes, you can make them out pretty well on the ceiling. These curves that kind of taper from right to left.
Hey, Bear in the Garden's got an interesting question. They say, I recently saw someone claim that if you're drawing figures who are walking on a flat surface, their heads should all be at the same level in your drawing for correct perspective.
That is correct.
Is this
if
true?
That's your eye level.
And that is assuming that they're all the same height, too.
Right.
If the, people aren't the same height.
But if you're sitting down looking at a group of standing people, the people further away, their heads will be lower.
Well, let's imagine there's a child walking next to the person wearing the white jacket. Their head is not going to be on the same line as the adult next to them, because they would look like they were floating.
Right.
So I don't know how true that is.
It's not universally true. It's like I think it's a rule of thumb. It's likely to be true.
And, well, another thing, if there was a person close to the camera here in the foreground, the top of their head would be way higher than the person that's behind them if they were the same height. Because if you follow that person with the white jacket and you can see their head almost touches the top of the train, do you see how it almost touches the top of the line of the train? You can follow that line into the foreground to the right, and that's how high the top of the head of a person who's the same height should be. And that's not going to be on the same line. That's not going to be on the same horizontal line. It's going to be on the same line of perspective that goes back into the distance, but it's not going to be on the same line. Do you understand what I'm saying, Ashley?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they're not going to be in the same level per se. The person who's closer, their head is definitely going to be higher up on the picture plane. If there's a person further back in the distance, their head's going to be lower than the person wearing the white jacket, because that line of perspective will continue back to the vanishing point.
All right.
Buddy asks, is there any rule on how to measure people of different heights and ages in perspective? No.
I don't think so.
No. There's not like a universal rule. This person's 13 years old. They need to be this tall, if that's what you're asking.
Go ahead and find where one of our people are.
Edie says the horizon line has to go through the eyes of all the people in the picture for it to look correct. No, not necessarily, because your horizon line could be at the top of the picture plane. Your horizon line could be off the bottom of the picture plane. The horizon line is relative.
Those things are only true if the person who's drawing is at the same eye level as the people they're drawing. But you could be on a third story window drawing a street scene looking down, and you won't even have a horizon line.
I still don't think that's, because if your horizon line in this image cuts right across the neck of that person wearing black. Yes.
Right. Because the person who took the photo was standing when they took the photo, and I know that for sure because this is the eye level. But if the eye level would be here if they were sitting down.
Right.
And we would see that in the perspective. The lines would converge here instead of up here.
It seems like people are looking for a lot of rules when it comes to making art.
With perspective drawing, there's only a few rules.
There's only a few rules
for that.
And it really deals with just lines going back into space and how you deal with lines that are going straight across depending on how you're looking at the image. That's really all linear perspective. You can use linear perspective to line up a line of people. Like, for example, you see the lights at the top? Those lights are following the rules of perspective. They are going back on the same line back into the distance because they're all hung from the same distance from the ceiling. And you could put those on a line going back to the vanishing point. I'm sure Ashley will. But when you're talking about other things like people or animals or trees in the woods that are naturally growing, that aren't planted in a predictable order with predictable spacing, then the rules of perspective linear perspective is not affected by any of that stuff. only determining the height of people or how you want to position them so they look like they're in a single file line. If there was a person here in the foreground sitting down, Indian style, down in the bottom left-hand corner, there would be nothing to think about linear perspective there. You would draw them the way you see them.
All right, we got a train blocked in, at least its shape.
Now, Eben, I think that's what it's Eben or Eben says if a person is shorter, they would go under the horizon line. I taught a perspective lessons for students who wanted to make comics from a cat's perspective. Yeah, that's not entirely true. If a person was back in the distance, they would overlap the horizon line. They wouldn't be below the horizon.
I'm going to say this. I don't even use the word horizon line because you can use perspective when there's no horizon or in outer space. I like to just say eye level.
Eye level.
That's really what we're talking about.
Yeah, horizon line and eye level is the same. Plus, if your horizon line was really low or your eye level was really low, in the picture plane, a short person might be almost entirely over the horizon line. They wouldn't have to be. It all depends on the view. There's not a rule. There's not a rule where you can say, okay, this person always has to be below the horizon line, or a person has to be partially above it or crossing it or whatever. It all depends on the scene that you're trying to depict.
Well, there's already some rules in linear perspective. I don't want to make any more than I have to.
Yeah, and there's only a few of them.
Right.
And in 1 point perspective, all of your lines are going to go back to the vanishing point except for horizontal lines or lines like on the roof. And that's why I said this one was interesting, because with a flat roof, those lines would be straight across. But because the roof is curved, those lines are curved. So they're not going back to the vanishing point. Now, they're going to get closer together as you go back in space, but that's a natural thing that happens with space. But you'll notice all of the other lines are either going back to the vanishing point or they are vertical lines. Now, the only exception are the lines on the side of the top of the train that are going down at an angle. But that's because the top of the train is angled that way.
Angled surface.
So those lines aren't going to follow any lines of perspective. They're not going to go back to the vanishing point, and they're not going to be vertical up and down. So with 1 point perspective, that's it. There's all lines go back to the vanishing point unless the lines are vertical or horizontal. And what I mean by that is they're either cutting across the picture plane or they're going straight up and down. All the rest of the lines are going back to the vanishing point. With 2 point perspective, you're either going to see straight lines up and down where we see corners or edges, and then all the rest of the lines go to one of the two vanishing points. All the lines on the right side of the corner or edge are going to go back to the vanishing point on the right, and all of the lines that are on the left side of the corner or edge are going to go to the left.
We're still painting here. Just moving our dust around. Let's have our surface covered with.
Now, there's also atmospheric perspective where contrast is lessened as you go further away from the viewer. And there's also, colors are also muted, and sometimes they get cooler. So if you look off in the distance and you see mountains, they might appear bluish or purplish because those colors have become cooler as they go back into the distance. And you'll also notice that they may look a little hazy or lighter in value. That's atmospheric perspective. That has nothing to do with lines.
All right, so we've got charcoal everywhere, so we're just going to start working from top down for a little bit now. So we'll spend a little bit of time working up the molding of our ceiling and our lights, and then we won't probably we're less likely to mess up what we've done as we work down into the bottom half. So here we go. Right. I think I'm going to put some tick marks through here in my old pencil line. Don't lose it. And then below those little marks, that's where we start some of our molding. These marks get small fast till they pretty much just make a line. There we go. So we're not going to be carefully trying to draw these parallelograms or rectangles. We're just going to try to use mark making and make it feel like the piece of architecture we're trying to capture. Right there. Okay. Fact. Just to keep me kind of straight. It's a squeaky little pencil.
Buddy asked, when working with graphite, you need to be careful with the palm. Does the same go for charcoal? Still on my to-do list medium. Yeah, charcoal smears way easier than graphite. So you do need to be mindful of that. But if it gets smeared and blurred, like I think the train's getting a little blurred by Ashley's hand, that's no big deal. That's going to be easy to fix because charcoal is, especially the vine charcoal, is super easy to manipulate. You almost want to think of it like clay. So if you, with clay, you take a ball of clay, start moving it around, and you can continue to move it and push it around until you get a form that you're happy with. Where with charcoal, it's very similar. You can continue to work it, push it and pull it. When I mean push it and pull it, that means add some, remove some, smear a little bit, smudge a little bit. And you don't really have to worry too much about the paper getting messed up because charcoal almost just sits right inside of the tooth. It doesn't really, it doesn't really catch into the tooth like graphite does. And graphite's definitely a less powdery material by far. So you do need to be mindful of that, but also keep in mind that you can fix anything that happens. A lot of people like to create charcoal drawings on an easel, so they do keep the palm of their hand out of the way.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's handy to work on an easel if you have one.
Charcoal is a drawing medium, but the way you use it, the thought process is very similar to painting. I like to call charcoal the artist's medium because it really is.
It's like training for painting.
It really is, yeah. Buddy says, thanks, Matt. What about the oil in your skin with graphite? You can't work on the paper anymore with the oil in it. That's true. That's why I discourage people from smearing or smudging with their fingers with graphite, because for whatever reason, when you smear graphite, it makes it more permanent on the surface. and you have way less control when you smear with your fingers anyway. But with charcoal is similar to pastels, where the oils of your skin don't really mix with the medium, and you can blend and smudge with your finger. Like I said, you can do that with pastel, and you can also do that with charcoal. So charcoal is a wonderful medium, guys. It really is. You get a lot of information down quickly. The blacks are black, so you get high contrast, and it's very easy to manipulate and change things on the surface. So you can do a lot of fixing and a lot of alteration during the process. The drawback is a lot of people think it's really messy, and it is powdery, but it's really not that super messy. Some people think it's a little harder to control. And yeah, at first it probably is, because you don't hold you can see how Ashley's holding the stick of the vine charcoal up there. That's not how we hold a pencil in most cases. So we're used to holding a pencil because we learned to write that way. But if you get accustomed to holding a stick of charcoal in your hand, like Ashley was, it's the same as holding a stick of pastel in your hand. And it really frees you up to create a variety of different marks. And at first it feels foreign, but with a little bit of practice, you get better at it and it becomes more natural. And charcoal is not shiny like graphite either.
Yeah, that's the best part. It's easy to photograph.
And although they sell charcoal in a variety of different, it's hard. You're in the camera.
My bad.
On both camera views.
I'm so sorry.
So, I lost my train of thought.
Different types are.
Oh yeah, with graphite, you really have to think about the grade of graphite that you're using. And with charcoal, there's fine charcoal and compressed charcoal, and the compressed charcoal is darker and more permanent than the vine charcoal. And there's manufacturers make like a 2B, a 4B, and a 6B, different forms of compressed charcoal, but the differences between those are minor compared to what we see with the different grades of graphite, where there's really a strong difference between a 4B and a B pencil, for
all
example.
the charcoals go to black. It's just a matter of having to press a little harder.
Yes, exactly.
But they all will make black. All right, let's put some lights in and figure out what they're going to be.
Charles asked, do you have to fix charcoal when you're done? You don't have to fix any drawing if you don't want to, but of all the mediums out there, charcoal is the one that if you don't want it to smear, yes, use a little bit of fixative. But many of you know that I am anti-fixative. Ashley is not, but I would use fixative on some of my charcoal drawings, but very rarely. I have a drawer where I keep all my charcoal drawings, and they're just laid on top of each other with cover sheets. Some don't even have cover sheets, and they don't smear or blend or smudge because I don't really open that drawer that much. But if you're carrying around charcoal drawings in like a portfolio or something, yeah, they could smear a little bit and get a little messed up. So yeah, you could definitely use a little bit of fixative on that. But the thing about fixative is you've got to make sure that your nozzle is completely clear and clean before you spray it, because sometimes fixative will come out in a splatter pattern.
Oh, yeah.
And that will ruin your drawing.
A little blob.
There's no way to fix it. It'll create splatters on your drawing, and they're there forever. I encountered that a few times teaching a drawing course for a summer program, and kids would take their drawings outside, and as soon as that nozzle gets a little bit clogged and they spray, it's splattering fixative on the surface. Also, fixative will make your darks a little bit darker. So it'll make all of your values slightly darker than what they are. That's another drawback, another thing that I don't really like about the fixative. But it does keep the material in place a little bit better. But even with fixative, if you don't protect your charcoal drawings, they will smear and smudge a little bit, even with fixative on it.
Yeah, One's called workable fixative, and the other's called final fixative, but not exactly permanent fixative.
Yeah, the final fixative still will smear a little
It's
bit.
a little stronger, but it'll still smear.
Valerie says, Ashley, you need Matt's drafting brush. The drafting brush is over there within his reach.
I don't know if I can use that with charcoal.
Yeah, if he comes across that with a drafting brush, it's going to smear
Maybe
all of
if we want to
the...
make our train look like it's moving at the end,
Yeah.
I may do that. Do a little smearing in there at the end. But
Yeah, I use that drafting brush mostly for colored pencil applications. I'll use it with a little bit of graphite too, but once you take a swipe over the drawing with the charcoal or the drafting brush, it will smear a little bit. I've used it before for charcoal drawings, but with a very light touch, knowing that I had to go back and change things after I swiped away with the drafting brush.
oh goodness, I've lost. Oh, there it is. I've lost my electric eraser. All right, let's see. We got 18 minutes, so we'll go down to the bottom for a little while. Rediscover our train.
One of my favorite things to do in some of my early drawing classes in college, I had a professor that would take us out in the woods. We had like gardens on campus. You know, we'd go out to those gardens and just draw with charcoal on newsprint paper.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, that was just really fun to do.
A lot of newsprint back then.
Yeah, those drawings don't last though.
No, they don't exist
So,
anymore. We worked so hard on those newsprint drawings.
I know. A newsprint's great for practice, and it's a great surface for charcoal. I mean, the charcoal works really well with newsprint, but those drawings will deteriorate. Oh, no.
Did you see that?
Catastrophe.
It's okay. We'll just sharpen our pencil.
Buddy asked, will you use white charcoal for the highlights?
No. They're going to be whatever of the white of the paper we have left.
And the reason why is because if he brought out white charcoal right now, the areas where he put the white charcoal would be a different color temperature than the white of the paper. And it would make the drawing look strange and unfinished.
Probably whiter. You know, I don't think this paper was pure white to begin with.
If Ashley was working on gray paper or toned paper, then yes, you would have to use white charcoal to create those light values. And it wouldn't matter about the temperature of the white at that point because the color of the paper would be toned. So I typically advise people, if you're working on white paper with charcoal, to avoid white charcoal. If you're working with charcoal on white paper, I just want to make sure I said this right. If you're working on white paper with charcoal, I would avoid using white charcoal. I think there's a lot of whites in there.
Yeah, but you said it right.
Okay. And instead use your eraser for the light areas, for the highlights. So at the beginning stages of this drawing, Ashley put some charcoal down. That actually toned the entire surface, and that allows him to use the eraser to create light values. All right, Buddy says, thanks. What is the paper wrapped in pencil you're using? That's a charcoal pencil.
It's a charcoal pencil.
There's charcoal in there.
Right. To sharpen it, you just unpeel one row of paper.
Now, it's compressed charcoal in there. Okay, Charles says, same idea behind watercolor to use paper as the whites? Yes, same idea. But with watercolor, it's a little harder to lift color. You can lift color and remove it, obviously, but it's a little harder to do that. With charcoal, it's very easy to lift the light values.
Okay, we're just erasing out our window shapes now. And then we'll go back and make parts of the train around our windows and doors darker, just a little darker. Matt, have you taken a train ride?
I've been on Tweetsy Railroad.
Tweetsy Railroad. We for those of you outside of America, we don't ride trains a lot in the United States.
No.
But some folks do if they live in close to in an area where there's large cities kind of close together. That's about it though.
Now, my parents recently took a train up to New England.
That's cool. I bet that was a beautiful ride.
Yeah, they said they enjoyed it. It was a ride of leisure. They rode the train for the experience of riding a train.
They weren't commuters. They weren't heading to work or anything like that. Some people ride trains to work.
All right, we have a super chat.
All right. Awesome.
And that is from Sonia. And she says, you just answered a question I was going to ask about white charcoal. Thank you. It is looking awesome, by the way.
All
So
right,
thank you
very
so
good.
much,
Yeah, thank
Sonia. We really appreciate it.
All right. So I have a clear bridge. Probably should have
I'm
been
glad you brought that tonight.
Probably should have been using it already.
Because I can probably use it in my lesson.
I wish it was a
here.
little shorter. I might actually try to cut these ends down a little bit, so because it's pretty far away from the page when you got to try to push a button on your tool.
Hey, you could use my electric eraser over there. You just push the button, hold it down, and it stays on.
Oh yeah. Well, honestly, Matt, this one's yours too. I forgot mine, so
We can use my other one.
I've stolen your other electric eraser. But this time I'm not going to take it home. I'm going to leave it with you.
I tell you what, I don't know if you guys can hear the electric eraser or not, but it sounds like a dentist tool. Sounds like they're just drilling away.
Sounds like
or maybe
pain.
the little brush thing that they use to clean your teeth.
Yeah.
I haven't been to the dentist in like a decade, so I'm just going after the memories I've had previously. Got you blocked again.
Sorry. Oh, got away from us.
Yep. See how easy that is to fix?
Yeah.
No problem.
Just touch it. Disappears.
Lord Engine asked about the electric eraser. Never used one of those. Is it easy to destroy the paper by accident?
If you stay in the same place for too long, that'd be it.
Yeah, if you stay in the same place, if you get too aggressive, of course. But one of my professors in college had an electric eraser, and I want to say he plugged it in, like it was not battery operated. And that thing was serious. That would really destroy paper if you weren't careful. But these battery operated ones, not so much.
You plugged it in. That does sound too powerful.
Well, I guess Edie says that's more than we needed to know, Matt, about me not going to the dentist in like a decade. Well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I have had one cavity in my life, and I take care of my teeth. And, if you've seen my mouth, which you probably have since you're watching the show, see if you can find my teeth, because they are so small and tiny that they're hard to even see. Now, my kids are not. I never had braces. My teeth are perfectly straight. But all my kids are great. Well, maybe Luke. Maybe my son's not going to need them, but all my other kids have had braces. They've had really jacked up teeth, and My wife's teeth are larger. They're on the larger side. And I think my wife had braces, so I think she gets those from those. Yeah, Lord Engine says micro teeth. My wife likes to call them chiclets, but whatever.
Chiclets.
He said, poor Ashley trying to stay from the camera. He just can't help himself. He's like every once in a while, it's like a planet that comes in.
Yeah. Well, not sure how to quit doing that. I need to put like a barrier that my head bumps into. Maybe that would help me.
I did have to have my wisdom teeth removed a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, because I had one of my wisdom teeth had an infection in it. But that's not my fault. I can't get back there. There's not a toothbrush that goes that far back there. Good Lord, Ashley.
What's going on?
Well, it's your body.
I did it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because it's a smaller format or what.
I don't know. I'm trying to stay back. Now I'm looking at the screen.
You know, I do that a lot.
To make sure my head's not in
Yeah,
there.
I do. I look at the screen a lot.
Yeah.
Catherine says your wife is not going to like hearing that she has big teeth. LOL. She doesn't watch this show.
We can say anything about our wives, right?
But I think larger teeth are more attractive. So I've got little tiny teeth. So I think larger teeth are more attractive. I think I'm envious of people who can smile and you can see their teeth. You can't see my teeth when I smile. It looks like I'm a snake or something.
You're
fangless
going to
snake.
have to prove you have teeth.
Jen says that's why you go to the dentist, Matt, to get those teeth you can't reach. Well, the wisdom teeth really, the dentist has problems reaching them. I mean, come on. They're the wisdom teeth. And also, it was really an infection in my gums because they were growing over the top. So they took all 4 of my wisdom teeth out. And ever since, I've been pretty dumb. Lost all my wisdom.
Got nothing going on up there.
Nothing at all. I knew it as soon as they were gone. I no longer knew how many feet were in a mile.
So these reflections on the ground are, it's the train. So wherever you see a dark vertical in the train, that's where the little dark vertical is in the reflection. So if yours didn't land in the exact right places like mine didn't, then you need to refer to the train you're drawing to figure out where your reflections are. So it makes sense.
Charles says, come on, Matt, tell us the tooth. I am telling you the tooth. Let's see. Jen says, I can hear Matt backpedaling right now. I'm not backpedaling. I'm completely honest with you guys and forthright. I do think that larger teeth are more attractive. Really do wish I had larger teeth. In fact, I used to try to drop my jaw down. You know, when you're in high school and college, you're trying to look cool.
Like that meme with the big jaw dude.
Oh yeah, that's a thing now.
Yeah, it's a thing.
But I would kind of keep my mouth open a little, or my teeth not together in my mouth with my lips closed, so it looked like I had larger teeth with my mouth closed. So I'm not. Buddy asked why are they called wisdom teeth. I have no idea why they're called wisdom teeth.
Because you don't get them until you're an adult.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good explanation.
Yeah. You can come in when you're around 18 or 17. Supposedly, you're wiser by then, but it's pushing it to say so.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
I mean,
We've dealt with ninth
I was
graders.
an 18-year-old, and I made a lot of not wise decisions. So I'm only speaking for myself. For those of you that are 18, I'm sure your wisdom far surpasses my own. All right. There's eraser shavings all over the place I can't touch.
Well, they should call them older teeth, not wisdom teeth.
Older teeth, yeah.
They should
Grown
call
up.
older teeth.
I believe I was 18 when mine were taken out. I think that's pretty normal.
Well, they usually take them out because it causes the teeth to move.
Yeah.
And
Unless you
my
got a
teeth are
lot
so
of space
small,
in there.
they're not going to move. You know,
You got storage back there.
I've got room in my mouth.
Yeah.
Got a lot of room.
Let's just find our other person. Where's she going to be? So the head is just a little bit lower. About right here. And keep her pretty simple. It's about right for the end of her arm. Comes down to the other lady's knees or man's knees. I don't know.
It could be a man carrying a purse.
Oh, yeah, so there's a purse there. His wife is in the bathroom.
That's possible. Or it could be just a man that carries a purse.
It's possible.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds good.
Oh, man.
Nice. That is squeaky. Now, of course, we're drawing right on top of our train. So we're really going to have to start erasing to draw. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll get our stick eraser out. I want to put in a few dark places just so we could find our place. And I'm going to use the electric one a little bit. We may have to put some charcoal back.
Girl says a man purse is a merce.
Merce, yeah. I didn't say it, but I was thinking about the merce.
Buddy says, when drawing / painting frozen water, would your approach be the same like tackling the platform you are drawing tonight?
What's that now?
If you were drawing a frozen lake or a frozen pond, would you do the same type of reflection thing that you did on the?
Well, I mean, if it's a flat surface like a frozen lake, then whatever is above the lake does reflect straight down, right? Straight down. So it would be similar. I think,
yeah,
what we did there. Way to think of it.
And I would say it depends, because sometimes you can see a frozen lake, for example, and there's not a lot of reflection.
Yeah, it doesn't have a shiny surface, I guess.
I would say what Ashley's doing is more similar to what you would see in a placid pond or a placid lake, where the water is not being blown by the wind.
Yeah, more maybe a pond that's not frozen. All right. I got too wide.
All right, we got another super chat here.
All right. Right here at the time elapses.
And this one is from Flying Gerbil.
Very good.
And the comment is, I thought this would be a drawing of a Subway sandwich. Disappointed, hungry.
Well, I've drawn quite a few Subway sandwiches.
Well, if you looked at the title of the video, it doesn't say anything about Subway or a Subway.
Of your mind.
Of your mind.
Yeah.
But maybe you heard the title of the song. I don't know where he got a Subway sandwich from.
I drew, I have 2 drawings at home of a yacht club sandwich. It's a boat
Yeah.
that's also a sandwich. A yacht club sandwich.
It's a boat, but also a sandwich. I don't understand.
It's a yacht club and a club sandwich put together. It's a creativity exercise I do in my classroom. We take
Yeah,
phrases
where you mesh 2 things together. Yeah.
And then we come up with a drawing of what in the world that thing would look like.
I gotcha.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Kids like that.
Kind of like that season that put the apple and the watermelon together.
Yeah.
Charles asked, do you know where this train is? What country, city?
No, I'm not sure about this one. I did have a few images picked out. Some were from Japan, one was from Germany, but this one I'm not positive.
Yeah, Edie says it looks a lot higher contrast when seen over Ashley's shoulder than from above.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's because the camera over Ashley's shoulder is a higher quality camera.
I know it.
And
nice.
one day I will switch to the overhead camera. But another reason why that camera looks a little bit better is because there is a special lens on it. It's a film lens, and the drawback to that lens is that it doesn't have automatic focus. So, with our overhead camera, we can zoom in and zoom out, and it's going to be in focus. But one day I'll figure that out, and we'll move the overhead camera to the top, or we'll move one of those cameras to the top. All right. For right now, this camera is fine, but yeah, the side view camera is a little better, looks a little nicer.
Well, we've gotten to the point where we can slow down and refine, except time's up.
That's okay. You got more time if you want.
But let's see. I would say I just need to, if I have to, I like to play what's the biggest difference. And the biggest difference for me actually is there needs to be some more light around the lights on the ceiling. So I would say if I was going to make one change, it would be to actually erase out a little bit more light in some of these areas. There we go. Let's see.
Catherine brings up a good point. She says, Ashley, you have to put the lines for the lights, otherwise they're floating.
Oh yeah. Good eyes. Just orbs. Like those orbs you keep seeing on the news flying around planes and stuff.
They're in the train station. They're everywhere.
There's aliens in the train station.
Lisa says, this is amazing, Ashley. Charles says, really great drawing, Ashley. Love the perspective and movement. Buddy says, fantastic and teaching lesson. Well, to me, the figure in the front looks as it has no jacket on.
She's naked.
Yeah, she's just wearing pants.
Yeah. Would it help if I put a collar?
We did that on purpose. Just kidding. Edie says that looks great, and in less than an hour or two, you have well more than 10,000 hours practice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And that 10,000 hours makes you an expert business.
I've heard that stuff.
That's not true. If you do 10,000 hours of practicing the wrong way, well,
you get worse.
Yeah,
I've done that with my golf game. I've definitely,
I was thinking about.
Definitely practiced 10,000 hours.
Definitely practiced 10,000 hours.
It didn't go well today. So.
Still not an expert.
I love that. All right, I guess.
We got to tear that tape.
Oh yeah,
tear that tape.
We gotta take tape off. Okay, there we go.
Francis says, great job. Buddy,
It's
perfect.
It's a loose
Love
one.
it.
It's a sketch, but we got it all in there.
But again, charcoal, you can get so much information down very quickly.
Yeah, and I just like putting down little light and dark marks and then kind of see them come together from a distance to look like a subject, and then from up close kind of dissolve again, break away. All right, now we can see some actual white, the white of the paper around our edges. Of course, I have written all over the edges.
You've got measurements on there.
Kind of changes things.
Ashley's notes there.
All right, there we go.
Very good. Nicely done.
Our subway of the mind.
Lord Engine
By
says,
FEX.
a most excellent use of burnt carbon, dude. And I'm going to try to say this. A most excellent use of burnt carbon, dude. That is so cool, man.
Most excellent.
Burnt carbon.
Righteous.
Bear in the Garden says, excellent education lesson. Thanks, guys. Catherine says, wonderful.
We don't really do much with linear perspective on Getting Sketchy.
On Getting Sketchy, no.
You know, we do on the other program, the live classes. So I thought it was fun to bring a little 1-point perspective in. And we may do a simple 2-point perspective drawing, maybe next season, kind of build on top of where we've been.
Buddy says, if this were a commission, would you still write the measurements around the piece of the thing?
No. No. I would write them in my sketchbook.
Yeah, or if you do want to have the measurements of where different things line up so that they're exact with the reference, you can write that stuff on your tape.
Yeah.
And not on the finished sketch, and still have the benefit of those.
Sometimes I do that.
If you're using the grid technique, same kind of deal.
Little marks on the tape.
Kay says, very nice sketch. It looked like such a difficult subject to do in 45 minutes, but you did it.
I think it was.
You did it.
I think it was.
All right. Little finishing touches here with charcoal pencil.
Well, I wish my train was darker, but we can talk about that in our critique show.
Whenever we do a live show here for you guys, there's always a possibility that things would go wrong.
Yeah.
And if things would have went wrong tonight, boy, that would have been a massive train wreck. All right. I think
All right, is that all?
That's
Last
it.
comments?
Well,
Okay, very
we'll
good.
switch over
We'll
here.
switch back.
All right. It's time to be serious again. To all you fun sponges out there who didn't like the AI intro, I don't know what to say to you other than lighten up and enjoy your life. It's not that big of a deal. I know AI is scary for a lot of you guys, and I'm actually working on a video on how I feel about AI, how it affects the art world, and how we can view it and use it as artists. And hopefully some of you guys who are scared of AI or put off by it will change your opinions over time. It's just simply a new technology, and we're using it to have fun. So anyway, Matt, serious, can you? No, I can't really. Why live your life being super serious all the time? There's times to be serious, but what
We've
we're
got
doing,
a lot of those.
we have a lot of times to be
have
serious.
to be serious so much.
But you're here on YouTube. We're making art. That is fun. That's a fun thing to do. One of the things that I have hated my entire life being an artist, because I've been drawing and painting since I was very young, and I've encountered a lot of snooty, nose up in the air art instructors, artists, people who think that making art has to be super serious all the time. And it doesn't. It should be fun. Look at Salvador Dali. Look at, who am I looking for? Looking at the chess player, ready-mades, Marcel Duchamp.
Yeah, Marcel Duchamp.
Those artists did not take themselves overly seriously, and neither should you.
And you know what? It was probably a contributor to their success. a little bit. I mean, that was part of their sort of personality type, the niche they carved out. Was their whimsical nature.
Right. The whole Dada movement. I mean, come on, let's relax a little bit, have some fun. But I hate the snooty, highbrow art world that exists of a bunch of people who don't like to have fun. And we're not those people, and we're never going to be those people. So.
No.
Anyway, Ashley did a great job drawing tonight. I'm going to be doing the drawing next week. I have no earthly idea what medium I'm going to use. Wait a minute, that's not true. I think I already have my reference picked out.
That's right, you did. You pre-picked it out.
Yeah.
You're accidentally ahead.
I'm accidentally ahead because I had a different image planned for last week. I switched it at the last minute, and I'm going to still use the image that I actually created using another image next week, but I'm not sure on the medium. It's either going to be gouache or colored pencils. It'll be one or the other. Gouache or colored pencils. Maybe a little bit of pan pastel if I do go with the colored pencils, but we'll see. All right. I just didn't want to... I'm not going to give it away. We'll do that next week. All right, Ashley, do you have anything else for the folks here?
Do I have any charcoal on my face?
You have a little bit of charcoal on your mustache.
That's always my first question. And when I finish a charcoal drawing.
You're good.
Okay, thanks. I make a deal with my own students in the classroom the first week of school that we'll always tell each other if we have art supplies on our face before we go out into the hall. It happens a lot.
Yeah, I see some of you guys comments about some of you have encountered the snooty, arrogant art people, which I despise. So anyway, now if you like charcoal, I'm actually going to be finishing up a lesson series tonight for members right after this show. So we have been drawing a portrait of an old man smoking a pipe.
That's right.
With charcoal, and that's going to be finished tonight. So if you want to go see a more finished charcoal drawing, there's tons to explore over on the website, but specifically tonight we are finishing up a lesson series. So I know some of you in the chat are going to be joining us over there. For the rest of you, if you want to check it out, you can start your free trial, link in the description below. Guys, thanks for watching our show. Thanks for being here the whole time, commenting in the comment box, and those of you who just keep showing up week after week. We really, truly appreciate you guys. For those of you here in the United States, I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July weekend, a safe one. Be careful with the fireworks, the water sports, the grilling, all that stuff that takes place. Lots of accidents happen on the 4th of July. So be careful, be safe, and enjoy yourselves. Guys, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.